So glad you're here. Let's start. Oh my goodness, here we are. It's Virtual Halston, episode 12. I can't believe it, episode 12. You know, the week goes by very quickly, doesn't it? It's you finish the show and you think, oh, good, I have the weekend, and suddenly Friday's here. But I'm excited, and I'm excited to see you all. Of course, I have my Ardell Wispies. Ardell is sending me a lot of Wispies, and I want to thank Jerry Lovell. That is just, I haven't been this excited since the 90s. So I also have my wonderful wine that was given to me by my friend Isabel. You see that I get things from people. Isn't that nice? And I have my wonderful Darling cup that Jim Caruso sent me. We have a very big show. We've never had 3 guests before. Coleman Domingo, Jessica Vosk, Jane Monheit. These are 3 extraordinary artists, and I'm very excited to talk to them. But so what else has been going on? Well, I went to the dentist. I'm sure you're all excited. And I've been whitening my teeth again because, you know, what else is there to do? Just put a crest strip on. That's what quarantining is all about. You have white teeth. Well, speaking of beautiful teeth, can we just bring on my producer? Jim Caruso, where are you, Jim? Yeah, these introductions are just getting more.
Really? What is wrong with you? We need to hire writers. Is Bruce Valanche available? I mean, for God's sake.
I actually think Bruce is available. I think he might be.
Speaking of teeth.
Yeah, speaking of teeth. I'm just wiggling around. I'm trying to figure out the best way for people to see my pretty flowers. Yeah,
they're pretty.
They're
very
pretty.
Nice too.
Yeah.
Did you buy yourself some flowers?
I did, because you know it's that and the whitening of the teeth and a glass of wine and some eyelashes, and that's called pandemic.
That's a party. That's a party waiting to happen.
Jesus. Darling, it's exciting. This is a big show. We have a big show.
It is. I know. We have to talk fast.
We need to talk fast. So can you tell us, because you do want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with Birdland.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
You know, in March when Birdland had to shutter its, the club because of the
global pandemic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was the slow Wi-Fi that was the problem there.
Yeah.
It was very depressing,
Yeah.
and it's been depressing to walk by, to see the club, to talk to people that work at the club. It's just been such a sad time for the Birdland family, let alone the rest of the universe. So BroadwayWorld.com came up with this wonderful idea. They pitched it to Ryan Patternight, one of our bookers and producers at the club, and he called me, and I was in like crazy. We are doing a concert series that we're shooting, a beautiful 3-camera shoot in the Birdland Theater. We're shooting them, in the process of doing them right now, with very socially distanced accompaniment, like really socially distanced. Everybody's in a mask except the performer, of course, and no audience. But these concerts are starting next week. The first one will be Max von Essen, our wonderful friend. Look at that.
Look at that.
That ad is hot off the press. So and great performers. Aisha DeHaas, Natalie Douglas, Janice Siegel from Manhattan Transfer, Sierra Bogus, a woman named Julie Halston. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I haven't heard of her, but yeah, no, that was good. Wild. Yes.
Weird to do comedy for nobody.
No one.
I know. But you killed it. I think it's going to be so fun. The series is called Radio Free Birdland. And
why is that, Jim? Why is it called Radio Free Birdland?
Well, you've heard of Radio Free Europe. Are you old enough to know Radio Free Europe?
I think I invented it. That's how old I am.
Well, in the 50s, during the Cold War, Radio Free Europe began broadcasting news and jazz to countries behind the Iron Curtain, which supplied entertainment and news and morale to the people behind the Iron Curtain. So we thought it was high time to bring entertainment and brighten the morale and the lives of our audience at Birdland, and the masses and the people that are quarantined. So it's called Radio Free Birdland, with great respect to what they did in the 50s.
Well, yeah, because, the fact is we are in a bit of we're in a war for a lot of reasons, but it has that feel. And we're also in a war to save ourselves.
Absolutely.
Again, for a lot of reasons. So this is really.
I feel that way. Everybody I know is in a war just to keep themselves sane.
Yeah. No, but that's fantastic. And Jim, not to bring us down or anything, but people say, why are you doing this show? Well, that's one of the reasons. We want to bring laughter and light, and it's really a service to people. And today is a bit of a difficult day for me. Today is the 2nd anniversary of my husband's passing. And as many of you know, as some of you may not know, he passed away from complications of pulmonary fibrosis, which is why I raise money for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. And we give a portion of that, anything we make today, to the PFF, of which I am a board member. And Jim, you were there we go, Venmo and PayPal. This is a really special day for me. And I really did think about maybe I shouldn't do a show today, being that it's a difficult day. But of all people, my husband, Ralph, would be like, are you kidding? You're going to talk to 3 extraordinary artists, 3 superior humans. That is what you need to be doing on the day of my passing.
That's right.
With your dear friend, Jim Caruso, and you were so extraordinary at my husband's service. You just really kept us all together. So if it's in your heart of all days today, if you haven't ever tipped us, maybe today you'll tip us. We really could use it. We have to pay for the platforms. I don't have to pay for my eyelashes anymore, but I'd love to give a nice big portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. So thank you so much. And to all those who have been supporting us. I think our viewers and listeners like to see our tech director, and I just love her. But let's just bring her on, because she always has something wonderful to say. Ruby Lochner, where are you, darling?
I'm here. Hello.
Oh, there she is. There she is. Ruby, how are you? I heard earlier that you made another quiche or something.
I did. At this point, maybe this should just become a bit, honestly. Yes, I am no longer alone. My boyfriend is back. And the first thing I did is I said, we're making a quiche. So we did.
Wow, that's the first thing you did when you came back.
It was that's thrilling.
That wouldn't be the first thing I did.
but that's what makes you Julie.
That's what makes me and Ruby.
Got you where you are today.
Exactly. But that's wonderful. And Ruby, you're back, obviously. I forgot his name. What's his name?
Kevin.
Kevin. You can
Kevin. No.
whatever you want today.
Kevin's back. We have a big show today, and you just met our talent. They're all extraordinary, and I think we need to get to this show, because this is going to be a big show. So, Ruby, of course, you're beautiful, successful. She's making quiches. Bye, Ruby.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's the first thing she did. Let's make a quiche. You know what? I've never said that sentence a day in my life. Like when Ralph would come in, I wouldn't say, Ralph, first thing, let's make a quiche. But that's okay. That's all right. Listen, she's going to be the most extraordinary mover and a shaker. She already is.
Already is.
Yeah.
And next week we have an announcement about her, something very exciting that's happening. But we'll do it next week. Ooh, there's a tease. That's what we call a tease.
That's what we call a tease. And I don't even think it involves quiche or eggs or milk or anything.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, so, you gotta come in next week. I like to start the show with an aspirational or an inspirational quote, as you know. The three people we have on our show today are so successful in their careers. They're kind of masters. They're real masters. And one of the masters of the movie star ilk was someone I revere. And this is the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, Joan Crawford, My Way of Life. And I just thought, just as an aspiration, I thought I would just see, since we're going to have such very successful careerists on the show today, what Joan had to say about her career. And I thought I'd just share that with you. I don't think stronger characters like me or Kate Hepburn or Roz Russell were ever intimidated simply because we were women. We all knew 101 ways to say, "Go fuck yourself." But we were never vulgar. There we go. That's my inspirational quote for the day.
That was beautiful. It was touching.
Beautiful.
It was touching.
It's poignant. It's touching. Well, Jim, I'm very excited.
I know you are.
This is someone I've admired for a very long time. And, he lives in LA with his husband, Raul, and I'm just crazy for his work. And a lot of people from the TV world know him from Fear the Walking Dead. He's been on everything, but he's a writer. I knew him from the theater world. He was in Passing Strange. He's a writer. I saw his show Dot, which was so fantastic. A Boy and His Soul, which was his one-man show. The Scottsboro Boys. But he's now directing. He just does it all, but he's also an activist, and I suspect a very superior human, because I have never met anyone, kind of like when we had Mary Lou Henner on. There are people in this business, because we know this business, there are crazy people in the business. Nobody doesn't like this person. He's a good soul. And I'm just excited that he's here. Can we please bring on the divine Coleman Domingo? Where is he?
Julie, my love. Thank you.
No, it's
so
true, darling.
much. Oh,
I know, but it's true. I don't know
that just touched
anyone.
my heart.
I don't know anyone who doesn't love you. And Coleman, you're such an extraordinary, superior talent, and I have so many things to talk to you about. And of course, we'll talk to the ladies as well.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, Coleman, when I was doing my research on you, there is so much on you. Your career is so extraordinary. I had to go out and get more printer cartridges because the Wikipedia page alone.
Thank you,
like,
Julie.
oh my God, I ran out of printer ink. Really, Coleman? I mean, it's
lazy.
not like you're
I'm
104.
terribly lazy. I'm terribly lazy.
No. All right. Well, let's talk. Let's talk Coleman Domingo.
Great.
You went to Temple University.
I did. I studied journalism there, and
You
then
studied
I took,
journalism.
yeah, I studied journalism. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write and document, the world. I wanted to go to war-torn places and document it. I wanted to be I was exploring photojournalism as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I took an acting class, and this teacher said he believed that I had some gifts as an actor, and so I moved to San Francisco to explore them. And I started in the theater in San Francisco, and I was there, and San Francisco turned me. I went there to become an actor, and I ended up becoming a director and a writer and an actor and producer, and just wanting to just make things happen. Because I have as you can tell, probably have a lot of energy. It's lessened now that I'm 50 years old. I'm a bit more gray and things, but
please, hair and makeup. I'm excited. Hair and makeup.
First, I have to just pause and say you look incredible. You look just so gorgeous and stunning. And I know Ralph is smiling. I know he is.
Oh, thank you, honey. And It really is. It's true. Today is a very strange day for me. But I just thought, well, my husband was a broadcaster. He was the anchorman for 1010 Wins for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then he worked for Howard Stern doing sort of fake news, real fake news, not
not like fake, not right.
Yeah. So it was sort of like the Daily Show, but he was my anchor, and he was an anchor man for so long. He of course was a journalist, and I know him because he interviewed so many artists. And in fact, Sam Rudy, someone Sam Rudy, who
I love Sam.
Yeah, he's the great publicist, and he helps us with Virtual Halston. He introduced me to my husband, and he would be like, "Oh, you have to interview these people. That's what you're supposed to be doing today."
Well,
so
that's why it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Well, the moment you were talking about it, and I was backstage listening, I thought, "Oh no, it makes sense because you're supposed to bring people together and engage." And I think that he knows that that's your. You say you admire me, I admire you, because I know that's what you do. That's what you've done with your comedy. Every time I've met you and been in rooms with you, you just have a light and you want to share it, and you want people to come together. So immediately I was like, of course I want to be on.
And I was thrilled. I can't tell you. And also the light is called a ring light. That's why I have light.
Well, we all need one of those.
Well, we all need one, Charlie. Well, now let me ask you, because you became an obsession of mine when you were in Passing Strange.
Did you stalk me, Julie? Did you stalk me after that?
A little bit.
Okay.
I have stalked.
I just wanted to make sure. I like stalking.
I've stalked you and Bill Irwin. I'm not kidding.
That's hot. I like that.
You get it.
I get it.
People
We
who
have
are
that same
very,
appeal.
yeah. But I became obsessed. And I saw Passing Strange like 2 or 3 times. But was that sort of your big breakout Broadway moment?
It really was, because there was we created that piece. We started at Berkeley Rep in the Public Theater, and we created this crazy artistic expression of Blackness and identity. And I think that we had no idea it would become successful. I just know that we wanted to be a part of this thing that made this go away.
I think Ruby has a picture of it. Ruby, can you bring up Passing? There we are.
Oh yeah, there's that point. Yeah.
There you are.
and my friend Daniel Breaker. Yeah, so we created it. It was like this wild piece of art, and then it became super successful. And I know that what I loved about it is that it was a place. I mean, first of all, when I first read the breakdown, they asked for an actor who can play a Black actor to play a German performance artist, a Dutch nudist, and a closeted choir director. And I thought you never get the opportunity to play all these things. And as an African American actor, so you're like, and I feel like those things that I built up in my life, I have that skill set. So I was like ready for it. And so when we did it, so it was like, I know that was like a wake up call for all of us in the cast. People were able to see us break outside of maybe boxes and limitations that are usually put on us, and say, oh, they can play anything. So I had the time of my life, and that changed my career. It really did.
Yes. Well, we had the time of, oh, look, Jane Hughes, who is someone I do know, she went, oh my God, I loved Passing Strange. That's what she's writing. Well, I also found it because it was so sexy. And again, there was a gender fluidity before we even knew those terms. There was a sexiness. It was like, wait a minute, what's that Black guy doing in Amsterdam?
Yeah, exactly. And then we had orgies on stage and things like that. But I also think that it was actually the precursor to like, I think I believe, and a lot of people in the industry believe, that like Passing Strange really broke a lot of really smashed down a lot of tropes and the way of what we believe theater can be. Because there was no 11 o'clock number. It was really kind of created like an album. So then the things that came after was like Hamilton, and things like that. It's like, we helped move that into motion,
Absolutely. And it was just also, everyone was just so alluring and sexy and interesting. And it was just, it really was. Now, let me ask you this, because you do write, you direct, you perform. You're the whole thing. Are you a process person, or are you like inspired and then you just go boom, like, oh, I'm going to write this in 2 weeks, or does it take a long time, or how does it go?
A lot of times creating something, I have the question first. I feel like I don't it's funny. I realize I'm not sort of a writer for hire. I'm someone that has to come up with the idea and the impetus for the world and what the burning question is. And then it may take me a while. It may take me a good year. With my play Dot, it didn't take that long. I had these questions about families and about dementia and how do we come together. And I knew it was a dark comedy. And so that one I sat down and wrote within 3 weeks. That's the quickest thing I've ever written.
Oh.
It just came out of me. And I wanted to write sort of a dining room drama for a modern African-American family, and exploring things about America and how what's in crisis is the memory and of America and of this neighborhood. And so basically I had all these questions usually. And of course, every writer will tell you that it's an expression of what I think, what I believe, what I'm exploring, what I'm wrestling with. And that's how, so and then I go into process, and I just really sort of like, I've learned structure by doing. I don't have any formal training for anything that I've been doing. I've taken a few classes as an actor, but I'm one of those people that are hungry, and I show up for rehearsals that I wasn't a part of, and I ask questions, and I know writing is rewriting, and I read a lot, and I take in a lot. Yeah, and not even just reading plays, whether it's reading magazine articles and books and things like that, and architecture and things like that. All that shapes and creates creating. And so I think that, like, I mean, I'm set up on a stack of books right now, and I'm like, oh, these are things I'm interested in, whether it's a cookbook from the Amalfi Coast, or something from the hinterlands, or Japanese architecture.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I have no skills really.
Right.
but I have great curiosity. Great curiosity.
That's exactly it. I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, once you have great curiosity, you can also have great engagement. And when you have great engagement, you're going to learn so much. And if you have that kind of osmosis kind of personality, which I think I do actually, very impressionable, you can learn a lot.
Absolutely. And you're not precious either. Am I right? I feel like you're not afraid to fail. It's like failing is not an issue. You're like, oh, that's the only way we get better, is by figuring it out.
Oh,
being fools. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, comedy, you have to be fearless.
Yeah.
You have to be fearless, because let's face it, you're going to go up there. And if you don't have confidence, and if you don't experiment, audience will know right away. Yeah. They know right away. Oh, she's unconfident and she doesn't know what. You have to be fearless. Yeah. So, and that's being an artist too. It's being an artist. True. And now I do want to bring out another fearless person, and I want to continue our conversation.
This would be great.
Because if you play Elphaba in Wicked, you really have to be fearless. I mean, I was watching a lot of the Elphabas on the YouTube the other day, and I was just like, well, first of all, I don't know how many times I listened to Defying Gravity. And, after a while, I was just like, I knew where all the high notes were, but they actually have to hit them. But anyway, she's one of the more popular Elphabas, but she's also a fearless person in real life. It's maybe that Jersey girl in her. We're going to find out. And she's also done a lot of other things. Fiddler on the Roof. She's going to be in a new show as soon as theater comes back. But I'd love to bring her on. Jessica Vosk, where are you, darling? You're backstage, but I think she's.
But I'm here in Jersey. God bless.
Oh, God bless. And how about the Coleman?
Oh, I couldn't be. I was listening, bated breath, enthralled the entire time.
Thank you, Jessica.
I would just remind people that if they don't know Passing Strange, and they can listen to that score.
And they can even watch it. They can even still watch it. I think it's on downloadable, because that's Spike Lee filmed.
Okay, that's right. Well, then watch it, because it's kind of life-changing. I have to say, it's kind of life-changing. So, Jessica, Elphaba.
Well, I played the Green Girl a lot of times. I would say it's been every hat I own, every piece of clothing I own has a little splatter of green paint on it, which I call my armor at this point. Yes.
But and every Elphaba that I've ever spoken to usually says, "Well, I'm so glad I played it, and I don't want to play it again."
Here.
Yeah,
I'm no different.
There you go. I mean, because
Why is that?
basically-
Why is that? Because it's such a tough role. I mean, like vocally as well.
I mean, there's a lot of factors. I would say there's a decent amount of factors as to what is difficult about that role. I wouldn't say it's just the role itself. There's a lot that comes along with a long running show. It's a beast. It will teach you so much about yourself in those moments. And I'm sure you can both relate as performers, writers, just artistic human beings, where you don't think that you have anything else left in you. And you think, I'm so tired, I couldn't possibly, but you have to anyway.
Yeah.
And so it reminds you, and I think it does push you into an area of your life where you might think you have no more strength left, but you truly are the strongest person you know. And so it taught me a lot. I mean, I toured with it first for a little over a year, and then I did the 15th anniversary on Broadway. And
yes,
a lot comes along with that. It really does. Even though the show's been out for 800 years, it's like, you take a responsibility for the lineage of people who've played it before, and you want to bring a bit of your self and your own life to it in a way that people can relate to in 2019 when I finished. And but by the end of it, you are like, I mean, I saw a photo of myself doing an interview and I was like, oh, did you sleep?
wow.
I mean, did we ever nap?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, it's iconic too. So you feel the responsibility. I mean, there are people who have seen it, 500 million times, and they know every syllable and nanosecond. So you feel So it's a very iconic situation, and you feel very responsible. I did watch, I guess it was an ABC interview with you, Jessica, about your former life. It was on Wall Street. Coleman,
Yeah.
I worked on Wall Street, and I was a research manager for a investment counsel firm in the 80s, the go-go 80s.
Ooh.
And
Shoulder pads? Were you wearing shoulder pads when you were at work?
oh, darling, shoulder pads, string ties, and I would carry my sneakers in a bag on the subway, and then I would change into my shoes when I got there.
Put some more mousse in your hair.
Oh, a lot of mousse, and it was the 80s. It was a go-go. Everyone wanted to look like Pamela Sue Martin.
I was gonna say, bring it on, like Meg Ryan, bring it on.
Yes.
But we worked on Wall Street, and I grew up in a very sort of lower middle class way. My parents were like, security, security, security. Although my mom wanted me to be an actress, but it was sort of like, she wanted me to be an actress, to have security and live around the block from her on Long Island. I was like, Mom, that really is not, they're all kind of mutually exclusive. You talked about your wanting to be secure, and you had a big voice when you were a child, and yet was it the fear that you were not going to make it? What made you
I mean,
not go into it first?
I think that there's always sort of the fear of what we call failure, or what we think failure is. And it's interesting because now I do a lot of teaching now, and I always tell the students, I don't believe in the word failure. I believe in learning from something. So instead of saying, yes, I might fall flat on my face, but at least I tried. And when I was in the finance days, and I didn't go to school for musical theater, I never got a degree for musical theater. I went for something completely different, and wound up working at an investor relations firm in Midtown for almost 3 years right out of college. And at that time in my life, I found myself not listening to music, not going to shows. I refused to see a Broadway show. I refused to see any concerts, because I think something in my brain was like, bitch, if you can't do it, you're not watching it.
Wow.
So, but that manifests itself. And I think I became so full of anxiety and stress, and I started to get panic attacks sitting at my desk, because the higher up the ladder of that job I would rise,
Further away.
Everything got pushed down. And I do think that your body tells you when something's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And when I left and I made the conscious decision to leave, I wouldn't say it was welcomed by my parents, who wanted me to understand the fact that I had a job that had a 401k and security and health insurance and all of these things that are, I think, seen as successful to,
Of course.
the huge people. And I did it anyway. And I say to everybody who asks all the time, and they're like, wow, you made your Broadway debut at age 30. I always say, like, I wouldn't be here without that business background. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have been able to play Elphaba or understand what it's like to be the CEO of my own life had I not had all of the Wall Street dudes kicking my ass. And so you get it too, Julie. It's just like, it's a whole different world that you can use your smarts to truly make that a success. And
the CEO of your own life is a really good way of putting it. I mean, you became Elphaba when I was about 28 or 29. I became a vampire lesbian of Sodom. I wish, of course. But, we started our own theater company.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And that was incredible. And, it was also the time of the AIDS epidemic. And we were bringing so much laughter to people that, I mean,
needed it.
I mean, that was a very, very, very tough time. And I think, again, we did a service. And now we have to do more service, but it changed my life. I mean, meeting Charles Bush and meeting, you could sit around and just say, well, who's this guy wearing a dress? What's this all about? I was spellbound.
Oh yeah,
I was spellbound.
And you know what? Your body and your mind will tell you when you're in the right place. I mean, you just, like, when I tell people, when I hear music or if I hear someone's voice or if I watch a piece of art and I feel it physically in my body, that for me is like, it's heaven. I could sit and crunch numbers all day and talk to people in different time zones and have to travel and do things for that old corporate business life, but nothing could ever give me the feeling I get now.
Right.
It's a whole different stress. Everybody's like, isn't Broadway stressful? Yeah, it could be the worst stress. And planning concerts could be the worst stress, but boy, do I like it.
Sure.
Yeah. I prefer it so much more.
I have a question for you, Jessica. When you are performing, that I have always had to, make peace with this. I felt like performing 8 shows a week, especially you with a voice like yours, the idea that, like, taking such care. I mean, are you someone that feels like, I felt like I was paranoid the whole time I'm working, which I'm saving it up for this. I wouldn't speak during the day. Everything was so scheduled, and I felt like I lived like a monk. You know what I mean? You go to bed at a certain time. Are you like that as well, or are you a bit more free with that? Yeah.
No. Playing Elphaba, I'm a vocal health nut anyway. Mm-hmm. That was also one of the reasons why it's so hard because I didn't have a life. It's not like I actually
shut it down. Yeah.
You shut it down and you go, okay, in order for me to actually do what I love to do, which is give 100% every show, I can't go out. I can't have a
cocktail.
I can't have a cocktail. I can't go dating, which I can't do now. But like, I can't do anything. And I have to, during the day, it's like you shut it down. If I even felt a hair of something crappy, I'd be like, hey, can I come in? Can you scope my chords? I mean, it would just be, it's hard. And of course I took it very seriously, but man, it's a discipline that I always say to people. I'm like, you guys, if you don't think that performing is athletic, then I can talk to you.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's bring another athlete in here. She is one of the great jazz vocalists, cabaret performers. Now, unlike us, she has never had another job. As she has talked about in interviews, she has been singing since she was a kid. As she said in an interview, I never even had a babysitting job. What? Wow. Yeah. So let's bring her on. Jane Monheit, the great Jane Monheit. Where are you, darling? She's so
Hi.
There you are. Oh my God. So you're listening to us. Now tell us, though, a little bit about the fact that you've never had to work.
You've never slung hash.
You've never had to work, bitch.
We're mad.
I tried so hard. I interviewed for so many jobs. I got my bartending license. I did so, oh my God, I tried so hard. Well, my parents wouldn't let me babysit because I was just like an irresponsible kid. And they were like, this is a bad idea. Like, you will walk into the other room and ignore this baby and be singing and dancing somewhere. And like, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
but then I tried so hard to get other jobs in college and nobody would hire me. So thank God I had gigs because it was the only way I could like, you know, afford life. And then, you know, graduated college and started making records right away. So.
And where'd you go to school, Jane?
I went to Manhattan School of Music in the 90s.
In the 90s, bitch. Yeah. She's too young, too beautiful, too talented. You know, you are someone who has such a soulfulness. I mean, I've heard you sing so many times. You have a real gravitas. You're not a woman of a certain age. You are a young, beautiful woman.
I'm in my 40s.
Real deep soul. Where do you think that comes from? And I know you've studied Ella Fitzgerald, for those who don't know who we're talking about. You've really studied her. And I'd love you to talk a little bit about how you approach the work and what Ella has taught you.
Well, Ella, for me, was really, really important because I think so many of the stereotypes around what we think a jazz singer is supposed to be have just nothing to do with her at all. You know what I mean? You see so much of the like, well, you know, if I lay on top of the piano in elbow-length gloves with a flower pin behind my ear, that makes it jazz. You know, no, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So she was.
What makes it jazz? What makes it jazz?
Your musicianship. You know what I mean? That's what Ella had. Like, Ella swung harder than anybody. She could improvise on the same level as the instrumentalists could. So she put all of that first before any of the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? Ellen barely knew from show business. She was terribly shy. So it was all about music for her. And so that was a big lesson for me as a kid, because I also really, really loved theater and was coming from that whole aspect. So it helped me find a balance between like, these are both things that are really necessary for my job. I need to know how to put on a good show and entertain. And I need the musicianship to like really back this up and not fake it like a whole lot of people do. You know what I mean? So Ella was really important to me in that way.
Well, let me ask you, because you brought up the theater, and you know, we're all kind of theater babes here in a way. And we now know, of course, theater has been shut down and clubs have been shut down. I mean, they will probably reopen before theater. And we have a very important movement going on. You know, we have the Black Lives Matter. We have Indigenous people of color. Everyone's talking about it. Mm-hmm. Do we really think that the theater world is going to take this seriously? Do you think change will really happen? Will it be permanent? I just wonder. I think we are really in a good movement, but I'm just wondering, you know, how this goes. And look, Jessica and I have both been on Wall Street. You know, money talks.
Yeah.
But you know what I believe, Julie? I believe that this is the first time, one of the first times, and I've heard this from some people who've been around for a long time and who've held the hands of Dr. King, et cetera, white and black. And they say that this is a time that they feel different, that things are actually going to change. And I believe because we're artists, and I think the artists are now truly taking a stand together in how we want, you know, equity, we want inclusion and diversity, and it's meaningful to all of us. As we know in the arts, it is meaningful to all of us, that we all want to make sure we know who we work with. We know that we know what the world can be. We always hope that the world can look like the worlds that we create, that the four of us try to create when we walk into rooms. And I think that it does take the artist to lead, that we are leading. We're trying to smash down and break things down and say that's not working, it hasn't been working, and we've been living in the system, and we've got to change it. There's countless lists that committees that I'm a part of, that where, you know, white and black, gay, straight, you know, we're all on it, and we're like, hey, we just want to make sure that it's a healthy environment for all of us, because when we all feel like that we are bringing our full selves in as women, as men, as people of color, gay people, straight, trans, when we all believe that our voices are being heard, we all win. We know it. The artists know it. We just have to tell everybody else.
Out there.
We're leading. You know?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I just indulge me if you can, but you know, because of this day, I'm thinking a lot about Ralph, my late husband, and my late husband's favorite playwright in the whole world. And, you know, my husband was a waspy Irish guy who grew up on a dairy farm in northern New York with dreams of being a broadcaster in New York City. And he did it. And believe me, he had no help.
Yeah.
His favorite playwright was August Wilson. And I once said to him, and he interviewed August a number of times. He saw every one of his plays. And I remember saying one time, why is August Wilson your favorite playwright? And he said, just very simply, he said, he understands humanity. He just understands humanity.
That's what his plays are all about. They really are. I have a
hardworking people. I think that growing up in on a farm was very instructive to him. He didn't love working on a farm. He had been working since he was 5. But I think when you have a dream, and it's very different than what your reality is, right? Yeah. I think that really clued into him. And he just said he understands hardworking people. And it was very simple. And I just think that you're right. The artist, he got it. He got it. And
if I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think there's also something right now where we have the time.
Yes.
And the amount of, instead of saying, you know, God, I'm stuck at home. I always say like I'm safe at home, but I'm also able to now I might think of myself as the most open-minded person in the entire world. However, you really have time. I have time to sit here and go, you know what? I have had moments of systemic racism instilled in myself just because of the world, just because of the United States and where I grew up and school and the people I talked to and et cetera, et cetera. And I think something that's so amazing right now is we are having the time to sit and listen. And there are all of these coalitions, which are being spearheaded by amazing Black artists. And to the point of the artists taking the lead on this, we have to get to those money folks.
Oh, yeah.
The ones who are sitting up there going, I've produced X, Y, and Z amounts of shows. You know, however, they've all really been very white oriented or very white led. And I think getting the, of course, the big name artists to come up and be like, you know what, let's put your money where your mouth is a very, really important thing right now that we haven't seen happen before. And so all of those statements coming out from Broadway shows or Broadway producers, it's now the time to actually make actionable shit happen.
Exactly. Hold on.
And
you see, I'm walking around. I'm trying to make sure I get a cord.
No, I love that you're walking around. And going on this tack, again, we're outsiders getting in. Jane, you were with many different labels. You have been known in this world for a long time. However, you started your own label.
I did.
You had to feel empowered for yourself. Emerald City Records.
Yeah, record labels are a mess. I mean, I think everyone knows that for a million reasons. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do have my own label. I'm not probably going to continue to record on it myself, but I am probably going to record others on it. But yeah, Emerald City Records.
But you clearly felt like you had to do it at a certain point because you had to empower yourself.
Yeah, I had to release some of the industry's hold on me. It was too much. I was, my creativity was, being stilted at, every pass. How I felt like I should look or talk or act, everyone wanted to control that. And I'm not, who needs it?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not playing a role. I'm here to be myself. So I got to do that all the way. And it was time. I was in my 30s and I'd had it. So, yeah.
You were in your 30s? I thought you were 30 just now.
No, I'm in my 40s.
Baby.
You look like you're 20.
Oh, that's just because this, the whole like.
Well, the ring light, please.
Ring thing.
I am Elaine Stritch. I actually died. I'm actually a hologram.
Death becomes her.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It's me in the lane. We're actually holograms. But do you think that and Coleman, you actually now have, and I think we have a picture. You have your own award, the Coleman Domingo Award.
I do.
And there it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about what this award is going to be about?
Yeah, sure. It was I was honored by the Vineyard Theater last year, and I really thought it was wonderful to be honored for, you know, my work of 30 years, but I wanted to make sure that it was a moment to activate supporting other African American talent. And so I suggested to Sarah, I said, you know what I'd like to give, and I thought I wanted to give it from myself. I said, I'd like to give a $5,000 cash award to someone in need. Because I'm trying to make room for things that I believe wasn't available and probably isn't available a lot, specifically to an African-American male or male identified person. You know,
Yeah.
I've found that there's many more opportunities for women, for other people of color, you name it, but nothing specifically about African-American men. And so I wanted to make sure there was room there. And I thought, well, you have to start it and get it started and put your name on it as well. And hopefully that'll inspire other people to do the same thing. So that's, I thought, and that's why I'm like, I'm not doing this. It's not about me. I want to invite my colleagues to do the same thing and make sure that there's room for, and it's basically just a cash award given to someone to say, hey, you can take off for a month of work and have your rent paid and your food and not worry and actually finish that work, do that work. You know, I've been blessed. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure that other people have that, and then we can pass it on. And then, and that includes mentorship, that includes, you know, workshop space, time, institutional support from the Vineyard Theater. It's like, no, we have to make room, and this is how we do it. And I think we can all do it. We can all find someone to help underwrite something and say, hey, there's something missing. I want to make sure it's there in the jazz world, in the musical theater world. That I feel like I would love to see names on all of our. And I feel like and for me, I wanted to put my name on it to make sure it's identified as an African-American man. It's important that we support each other as well, you know, and the Vineyard.
Absolutely.
Together.
It's wonderful. And I do think we all come from this place of sort of otherness. Yeah. Do you feel that way, that we have a sort of otherness and that we need to, you know, I was a loudmouth blonde who didn't really know what I was doing.
You used to be, no longer.
Well, thank you, darling. But here's the thing. It was the gay community that gave me my voice.
Yeah.
You know, the gay community saw something in me, and Charles Bush saw something in me, and he said, hey, I'm gonna help you find yourself. And he did. So we have an otherness. There were people who heard you sing, Jane, and they were like, hey, there's something there. But there are a lot of people like who would have just said, yeah, I like singing, but I'm not going to pursue it. Yeah. I'm not going to pursue this. And you too, Jessica, you had a little bit of a curve like I did, but then you were like, I'm going to go back to this other thing.
Yeah.
But Coleman, you seemed, from what I've read, you seem to be like, I am doing this pretty quick.
Yeah, whether or not I could afford to or not, I come from very working class folks. There were times when I thought, I don't know what I was thinking in my career. By the time I was 36, and I was like still going back and forth between bartending and doing shows off Broadway, you know, getting paid $300 a week. You know, I'm literally taking a bow for Manhattan Class Company, and I get up and then I run and get in a taxi, get across town to the 55 bar and say, within 15 minutes, say, hey, what can I get you? You know what I mean? For a long time, I never thought, people don't see that. They say, I made an agreement, I feel like a long time ago, that being an artist was being an artist. And whether I was bartending or teaching or anything, it didn't say I was on the side doing something else. I'm like, that's all a part of being an artist. It's all a part of like just making it work and having time to create. And no one can tell you not to create. So I was always creating when I had time, like 3 hours in between when things got quiet at the bar where I was working, and I would write. And that's why I created my first solo show, because I was like, it's always, you're always an artist once you're an artist, and you have to just believe it and just trust it and have faith in it. That and that it will all. I mean, I think what you put in, it will come back to you.
Yes.
You just have to put in your whole. I think I'm talking to people who truly understand. You put your whole heart and soul into it. It's got to work out for you. It just has to.
Yeah, no, it's true. It really is. And you do have to have faith, you know, and I'm about as cynical as can be. But let me tell you, there are times you just the universe. You go, where is that universe? You got to keep going. Now wait, let me ask you this, because you direct now, Coleman.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy directing?
I
Is
love
it
directing.
empowering?
I've always been a director because I have a lot of opinions.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I've always had a lot of opinions and a lot to say about things that I had nothing to do with apparently as an actor. But so that's why I became a director. So I direct for television. I direct theater, and I'm going to direct a reading of Arms and the Man for ACT soon. And so I've always so I always have to make space for directing. You know, whether I'm I'll always direct. I'm directing probably another episode of the show that I'm on, Fear the Walking Dead, next season. Right. Hopefully for Euphoria for HBO as well. But yeah, I like to go back and forth. You know,
he has a first look deal, I think, with AMC. Do you know?
I do. I've been blessed. You know, listen, I think
honest to say it, but I'll say it.
But you know, I also think you guys understand. I think that we're people who not only create, but we want to create the rooms and the spaces that we're in. And I think so it just made sense with this. I have a first look deal with AMC Networks, which is helped me with my production company. So now I'm creating, because I'm like, again, it's important for us to create the worlds. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be frustrated with it. I'm going to create the world that I want to see. I want to create the rooms and what they look like and what my executive team looks like. You know what I mean? We have to do it. I think it's up for us as artists to do it. Yeah.
Yes.
I also just I just want to say, like, hustle is like, I don't know. I've always just been like a hustler. And I've always been the type of person who probably everybody here is maybe the same type of way, where it's like, just because, yes, I had the chance to play Elphaba, that ain't it.
Your hustle's still going.
So it's like the hustle is on even when I'm hustling. So it's always like, what's next? What am I going to do? Now I'm in quarantine. What are the 6 things that I could start doing that could inspire me? Or
where's the growth going to come from?
Yeah. That's a special thing. I really respect that. What you were saying, Coleman, about getting, just because you're doing so many different things doesn't mean you're any less of an actor because you've decided to direct, or you're any, less of a director because you write, or it's just, or Jane creating the Emerald City record label, which I want to know where the name came from after all.
Well, what do you think? Wizard of Oz, I would imagine.
I mean, I babysat all the kids that Jane didn't. That's basically what I'm trying to say. More time between Wall Street and my first Broadway show, I was like, do you have a child? I'm able to babysit them.
Well, let me say this too about you talking about hustling. And again, I hope you're enjoying. And if you are, please feel free to tip us, because particularly this day of all days, the 2nd anniversary of my husband's passing from the complications of pulmonary fibrosis, which is why we are giving a portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. Please feel free to be generous today of all days. And believe me, my watchers have been very, very generous. But the thing that I was so admiring of, and it was such an important lesson for me, even when my husband was very sick, he was so good on the air. Here's my little homage. We all have our blue Yetis or whatever, because he had an old-fashioned, microphone. But he was on the air into his 70s. He loved it so much. And even when he was really struggling with breath and he had an oxygen tank that he would bring to the Howard Stern show, he was carrying this oxygen tank. And I was like, honey, maybe you should not go in today or whatever. He was like, I have to give the news. I got to tell people about Howard's engagement to Beth O, or whatever it was going to be. He felt it was a service. And, I was always worried about him. But, it was wild because I have the tapes.
Wow.
It sounded amazing. And all his tapes are now at the Paley Center for Media Studies.
Wow.
Which is the Museum of Broadcasting.
That's awesome.
And Mark Lick, who gave us an incredible tribute tape at his service, he helped me get everything archived. It's important to archive. And he got everything from 1962 to 2012, 13, archived.
Wow.
All there at the Paley Center for Media Studies.
That's awesome.
And he worked until his 70s because he felt it was a service he had to do, and he loved it. It's also because he loved it. We're going to be working forever. You know, people say, well, you know, because like I said, I died a long time ago. I'm a hologram. I will work. I suspect I might die at Birdland. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I suspect I might. You know, we're gonna be out there.
We like working.
Yeah. We like working.
We're very lucky. It's a gift to be able to like be. And again, all the students, I think, even especially of singers, and I always say like we've been gifted this thing, and it's amazing to share it with the world when you actually have the chance to do it. I know what it was like to sit at a desk and not be able to do it for a long time. So I'm so grateful at any time that I do get to step on stage or, you know, do something like that, because like, and especially for your husband, I'm sure he felt the same way of saying, this is a gift that I get to do, and people get to enjoy it. And that is what makes the world go round.
Yes. Jane, upcoming projects, future, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Well, I'm about to start making another record again, finally. It's been a while. Because I put out 10 records in 20 years, and it was kind of a lot. And, you know, in jazz, you put out a lot of records. You put out records really often, but I kind of needed a minute. I didn't want to just like force something out because it was what I was supposed to do. So I waited a minute. And so now I'm going to go back into the studio again really soon. So I'm really, really glad. Well, I'm going nuts here doing nothing.
Yes, of course. Now, I urge you all to watch, and Ruby's going to bring up a picture. It's Coleman's Bottomless Brunch. Coleman's Bottomless Brunch. You've got to see this. There it is. Look at him. Oh my God, you're so cute.
Thank you. Apparently, I never know how to put on
so
a shirt.
dashing and beautiful.
Buttons, apparently. I don't use
Well,
buttons.
I've watched it, and it is so adorable. First of all, everyone is talking about pro hair and makeup. Everyone is phenomenal. I watched Niecy Nash, and I'm a big fan of Niecy Nash. But anyway, and I'm going to bring Jim Caruso back in because she brought up Lola Falana.
Oh, yeah.
Jim.
I love to this minute Lola Falana. I was so obsessed with her. Jane,
she's everything.
Jessica, do you know who this is?
You got to fit. You got to
look up Lola Falana, and you will. First of all, the images you'll just melt. She's just
You're gonna
incredible.
faint.
And she was a consummate performer. She was just everything. She was glamour.
She was show
song,
business.
I have her on my phone right now on Google, and she's it.
I mean, what?
Yes.
Yep.
She could do everything. She could sing. She could dance. She dated Sammy Davis. And she was on the road with Sammy for years. She was on every variety show in the 60s and 70s and was actually the first Black woman to be in a national commercial for Fabergé perfume, which was a big deal. I remember this, that it was a big deal. Of course, she was a goddess. But then she was diagnosed with MS very early in her life, which certainly changed her career because she lost sight in one eye and she was paralyzed on one side, and then she had some kind of spiritual awakening, and still to this day at age 76 or 77 tours the country speaking about her, and she has she has a ministry, and she tours all over the country. She's just we do have a picture of her now. Come on.
Still gorgeous.
But talk about
being in service.
Being in service, and something
service.
happens, and you make a swerve, and you just continue. You just pivot.
But also that sounds like, Jim, what you just said is a beautiful thing for this moment, because I feel like those of us who've been teaching as well, been online teaching students and constantly telling them like where to go right now, because like, what do I do with this energy? How do I create? And I told a lot of my students, I said, well, you know, I've been in the garden. I've been actually taking stock in a different way. I've been reading architecture books. I'm like, don't worry, you'll be back out there, but fill it up right now. It is that pivot, and still be of service. See where you can make a difference, where you can make some, which is why I do a bottomless bunch of Colemans. I just want to share some sunshine and some stories and have a good time. I think that's what we're all trying to do and figure it out in this moment. And that's beautiful to be in service.
Your show is pure sunshine. It's a perfect word. Everybody looks fabulous. Everybody's drinking beautiful cocktails. And I love when people are trying to create your cocktail and we see them kind of.
It's silly. More than likely, I'm going to call all of you and harass you to be on the show at some point.
I love it. We would love it.
Oh no, it's so great. Good.
It was so good to see Niecy Nash trying to mull.
Watching her try to make anything is just pure comedy. You're like, what are you doing? You know, she's like wrestling with the ball. You're like, what?
Anika Noni Rose, never been more adorable than on your show.
Good.
Yeah,
love her.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I feel like we were kind of honored today. I mean, this was fantastic. I hope you guys had a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
and
look.
I think we made some new friends too. Thank you.
I think we made some new friends, and we got to talk about Lola Falana, who I have to say.
Who can ask for anything more?
Yeah.
Perfect afternoon.
And again, thank you all. We have next week we have Andrew Reynolds. So I'm very excited, and he's a good friend. I did Hairspray with Andrew, and I'm so honored. I'm so delighted. I'm big fans of all three of you. Not you, Jim. You know. Yeah, and not Ruby. Ruby's that bitch. God. Yeah.
Ruby's the worst. She's the worst, right?
She's the worst. And if you enjoyed the show, please feel free. This is a special day. And it's a little bit of a tough day, but I would love it if you can be generous. That would be so nice. Thank you so much. At Coleman Domingo, at Jessica Vosk, at Jane Monheit. Subscribe to Cast Party Network. I'm on at Julie Halston, actress Julie Halston on Instagram. This was truly a real pleasure for me. It made my day, and I was not sure I was going to get through this day. And you guys really did help me get through this day. So I will never forget this. Thank you.
Ditto. Thank you for having.
Yes, thank you for having us all.
Thank you. You're all superior humans and talents.
And to Ralph.
Yes, to Ralph.
Yes. Mr. Howard.
To Mr. Howard. Thank you, Ralph, and you changed my life. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Be blessed. Be well. Bye-bye.
What more is there to say?